All right, my name is Alfred, and this is my story in Seven. I remember back when I was a child accepting Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I was probably 12, 13 years old, but during a revival one night, and I knew something had changed. I knew something was different, but I never really lived a life that was, I guess, pleasing to the Lord, I guess you could say, holy, righteous. I just didn't understand. And so some years go by and I do all the things that your normal teenagers do. I go to the parties on the weekend. I go to church here and there. My parents wasn't really in church. But it wasn't until I graduated high school when I had an experience with the Lord, and the Lord just put on my spirit, just really started pushing me. I felt like ministry is where I was supposed to go. That's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to preach the gospel. I was supposed to be a pastor somewhere, but I just kept fighting it and fighting it and fighting it because I grew up in a home where we didn't have a whole lot. We was poor, and we always had a roof over our head, always had food, but I always wanted more. So I focused on making money. So instead of becoming a pastor like God was calling me to do, I decided I'm going to be an underground coal miner, and that's what I did. I was an underground coal miner for 10 years, started making really good money, but the Lord just kept pushing on me about being a pastor and a minister. And so finally, I start going to church regularly on Sundays, and I mean, the Lord just wrecks me. And I realized that the life I was living was not acceptable and was not okay. I was not giving God the honor that he deserved. I wasn't giving him the same love that he was sharing to me. And so, after getting into church and realizing that I wasn't living life right, that's when I started to answer the call into ministry. And then started preaching, started going from here, started going there. Got to do pulpit supply here and there. Had a jail ministry that was very successful. Was leading Sunday school. Became an associate pastor of a church at like 22 years old. And I'm just, I don't know a clue what I'm really doing. But I just know I want to please God so much. And so he's with me every step of the way. I'm in this ministry. I'm doing it. Well, after some time, I felt like the Lord wanted me to quit my job, and I just kept fighting it to do ministry full time. And I kept fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. And then one day I get hurt, and it turns my whole world upside down. I don't know what to do. And this job had been what I felt like a godsend. I felt like this was something like I get to have the things, I get to provide for my children and my wife that my father didn't get to do. And so I go through not knowing what's wrong. I'm hurt, but they can't really figure out what's going on. And so I go to doctor after doctor after doctor trying to figure out what's going on. Like 6 months pass in this time, and they send me a letter in the mail and says, we're going to have to terminate you. You've been off work too long. You're no longer going to be on workman's comp. So now I go from making money, good money, to making no money whatsoever. And I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. Nobody can figure it out. They don't know what's going on. And at this time, I'm still preaching. I'm still trying to do these things, but my body's not really allowing me to do these things and as much as I would like. And so it puts a strain on my marriage, and I get a divorce. Well, once I get a divorce, the church has a meeting, and they say that I can no longer be the pastor there anymore. I can't serve God the way I feel like I'm called to do, and they pretty much excommunicate me out of the church and tell me that I'm no longer allowed to come there anymore. And so you're talking about heartbreak, because you're doing something that you feel like God has called you to do, but at the same time you are angry because you felt like God didn't protect you. And so I left the church angry, and I didn't step inside another church building from that day forward for like 4 years because I was hurt. I was angry. I felt like God had let me down. I felt like the people I had poured my life into had let me down. They wasn't the family that they said that they was. And I was so hurt and angry. And at the same time, I'm dealing with all these medical issues. I don't know what's going on. I'm divorced. I'm 26 years old. I have to live with my parents again. And you never think that's ever going to happen. And so now I'm living with them. And finally, after about a year, the woman that's my wife now came into my life. And she is amazing. She, loved me just the way I was. At this time, I'm walking with a cane. I can't even walk. I had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so I'm hurting all the time. I'm in pain, but she loves me through it. And we had our ups and we had many, many downs because I was just so angry still. Not angry at her, but I'm angry with the Lord. I'm angry with the church. I still knew God was there, and I know God exists. I know He's still speaking to me. I'm still praying to Him. But my mindset was, if the people at my last church treated me this way, people at every church are going to treat me this way. And so I fight going to church. She keeps begging me, come on, we need to go to church. We need to do this. I know God has plans for you, and I just fought it and fought it and fought it forever. Well, finally, one day, we go to Legacy Church, and the Lord just wrecks me again. There was a sermon preached on how I'm not giving up on God. The first time I go back, a sermon that talks about not giving up on the Lord. And so he wrecks me, and then I have a meeting with the pastor there, and then I finally decide, okay, the way I've been doing it is not working. I'm angry all the time. I'm miserable. I hate my life. I hate everything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go nowhere. And so I just start pouring into the Lord again. I'm like, Lord, you're going to have to do something because I can't handle this anymore. I don't know what's going on. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of being miserable. I'm tired of hating everything and hating the people in the world. And God just starts to slowly transform my heart. He starts to slowly just start peeling back the layers of hate, peeling back the layers of just the discomfort I had with people. And then before you know it, God has just took my ministry off. And He starts dealing with me, and I'm starting to get back into preaching again. But then as soon as I do in 2021, I contracted COVID-19. I spent 30 days in the hospital. They told me I was going to die. I was not going to live. Said I had about a 20% chance of walking out of the hospital. And then God shows up. And so I leave the hospital. I get to come home with my wife and my kids, but I'm on oxygen. Said I'd be on oxygen the rest of my life. I go to a church service one day, and I'll never forget it. Bishop Jonathan Suber lays hands on me and prays for me, and I remember falling out. I have no idea what happened, but I knew once I came to and I got up off the ground that I didn't need oxygen anymore. And I remember taking the oxygen line off, and I said, I can breathe. And he goes, God has just done a miracle for you. And I said, yeah, I can breathe. My O2 stats were like 88, 89, my oxygen saturation before I went to church. And then after he prayed for me, they went to 98 and never dropped below that. I mean, a complete miracle healing. And so I go to the doctor after that, and he looks at my x-rays from when I left the hospital and then my x-rays of that day, and he goes, I can't explain what this is. He said, this has all kinds of lung scarring. It has all this stuff. You shouldn't be without oxygen, but this scan here, this x-ray you had today is completely clear, completely clean of any scarring whatsoever. And he said, all I can say is that this is a miracle. And he said, I can't explain it. And I said, I can, because it was Jesus. He completely healed me. And from that time forward, I felt like God done that to say, I'm not done with you yet. To say, I still have something for you. I'm not done with you, and I'm still going to use you. You are not too far gone. I know you was hurt and disappointed. And ever since then, my ministry has just took off. I'm getting called to preach here and there. I'm completely healed, getting to preach and do what I'm called to do. I'm on staff full-time at a church. I'm getting to do all these things that God has called me to do, and it is absolutely amazing. I praise and honor Him for it. And I'm so glad that I get to walk out this calling and that's on my life right now. To Jesus be all the glory.